Welcome to Veterans Voice, where we highlight programs and services that support our veterans. I'm Chris Kimball. After re-entering the civilian world, many veterans find ways to give back to their brothers and sisters in arms. Chris Finck is a Marine Corps veteran who found his calling as a loan officer. Castillo, also a United States Marine Corps veteran, is a local realtor who specializes in military relocation. Welcome to the show, Chris and Carol.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Or I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris, for having us. Yes, we're happy to be here.
Chris, we'll start with you. VA loans can be a valuable resource. Can you tell us some of the basics of the VA loan and how it works?
Some of the basics are, so you obviously we earn that right to use our VA loan, and sometimes people don't let us, and that's what we're here for. So the basics are no mortgage insurance and no down payment. And the things have changed throughout the year, and the VA doesn't have a limit on the loan amount. It's up to the mortgage companies to put a loan amount on them. And there's no bottom to the credit score. Again, mortgage companies, we put a bottom to the credit score.
So what advice do you have for active duty personnel or reservists who are thinking of buying a home when they transition?
I'd say get a hold of a veteran loan officer and who's I guess experienced and knowledgeable in all things VA loan related, and they can refer them to a veteran realtor as well. I prefer to work with, when I'm working with veterans, I prefer to work with other veterans and stuff. But yeah, you can go through, because there's so many things that go along with it. I talked to an experienced loan officer who's knowledgeable in it.
I see here that Fairway is a part of the American Warrior Initiative. Tell us more about that organization and how you participate.
So that's actually when I became a loan officer, I was looking for a mortgage company that did a lot with veterans, and Fairway, we have the nonprofit American Warrior Initiatives. We do all kinds of different financial related stuff for veterans. One of the main things is service dogs. We find veterans in need of service dogs. We pay for the training, do everything, and donate the dog to the veteran in need. I don't remember the exact amount, but we're up a couple hundred service dogs that we've donated.
Outstanding. Carol, let's bring you into the conversation. You have a personal story about a VA loan on your own house that got you into the real estate business. Tell us about that.
Yes. So my husband and I decided to look for a bigger house for our growing family a couple of years ago, and found the perfect, beautiful home in the community I grew up in. It's a mile away from my parents. I mean, it was one of those, like, it couldn't have gotten better. So when we went to make an offer on the home, we were told that if we were serious about the house, we would go conventional. And that it didn't make any sense to me. I didn't really know much about real estate at the time. And, and being a Marine, we don't like to be told no. And so I found a way. To get the home for my family. Got a real estate license, filed a complaint with the Texas Real Estate Commission, filed a complaint with HUD and the VA. And once those investigations started happening, then they were willing to sell us the home. And, that's when I discovered that veterans are treated poorly in the real estate industry. And because there's this misconception that if you don't have to put money down on a loan or a down payment, that you can't afford to buy the home. And that's simply not the case. The VA loan gets lumped into the same category as an FHA loan. And, the loans exist for a reason, and it's a great product, but we earned our entitlement to not have to put a down payment on a home. And, my husband's a civilian. He jokes that it's such a good deal that the government's giving us a free house. That's obviously not the case, but in comparison to other loan products, it just doesn't make any sense why you would use something else other than what you've earned that offers you the greatest benefit. So, and ever since that happened to us, I discovered that it's happening to everyone. And at the time, my husband was a judge. And we were told that, they didn't think we could afford to buy the home. And there's a lot of veterans that are out there that are successful, that utilize this tool because it's a great resource that we have. So since that happened to me, I've been advocating for other veterans who are using their VA loan to purchase a home. And I specialize, I'd say 99% of my business is working with veterans who are using that VA loan. And I make sure the same thing that happened to me doesn't happen to them.
And if I can tag off of that, actually, Carol and I are both part of the Veteran Association of Real Estate Professionals, VA rep of Houston, and we advocate for VA loan education and making sure that people know all the facts behind VA loans.
Outstanding. And Carol, I understand you used your GI Bill to obtain your real estate license here at HCC. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I have to say, it was a wonderful experience. And I had some really great instructors. One of them was a military veteran himself. And it's something that, you know, I never thought I'd end up in real estate. I was a linguist and intelligence analyst in the Marine Corps, but I love real estate and I love working with other veterans. So I'm going to keep doing this.
So tell us about Rally Point, which the Veterans Transition Success Coalition hosts every year.
Yes. So every year, the Veterans Transition Success Coalition tries to bring all the resources that we have in the community and or for veterans and put them in the community to make them visible to, you know, different well, to all the veterans who are out there who may not necessarily want to come downtown to go to the offices there, or they may just not know. So what we do is this year, I think we had 55 or 60 vendors that showed up. And it's we did a career fair. We have veteran-owned businesses, and we have different veteran service offices that come out and participate. So it's a really great event every year. We try to do it in May, the spring, April, May, and we are trying to move it around to different parts of town, just kind of rotate it, just so everyone gets exposed to it.
Excellent. I have another question. When veterans, I remember I needed to get a piece of paper from the local regional office. It was, I believe it was a certificate of eligibility for the VA home loan. And when I got it, I was made to feel that, hey, a copy of it was going to be pretty hard to get. And this was 20 years ago. Are those still the same rules? Is it still just for one home, or is it going to be a big deal if I need to go back and get another copy?
So for your certificate of eligibility, you as the veteran don't need to get that yourself. As a loan officer on my end, we have access to pull that stuff. The only time you would have to, as the veteran, get it is if there's something fishy on you or something, you have a bad conduct discharge or dishonorable or something, then you would have to reach out to the VA and get a copy. But most of the time, 99% of the time, we pull those on our end.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Chris and Carol. After the break, connecting veterans and employers.
For more than a year, we have kept you informed with more than 500 remote episodes. But now we're back, bigger and better, with more news and more guests. Join us live every weekday at 10 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube, and on HCC TV at noon and 5 p.m. You can watch from anywhere. We go where you go.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But I get it, you're busy, and busy people can't have prediabetes. I read that wrong. They can, okay? Just go to the site.
Welcome back to Veterans Voice. Veterans develop skills during their service that employers value. But how can those two parties find one another? We're joined today by Tony Riggs, CEO of Skilled Vets. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Tell us about Skilled Vets.
Well, Skilled Vets, first of all, I'm an entrepreneur of 23 years. I love businesses, setting up businesses, starting businesses. And I was having some conversations with some construction companies. And I was listening to them saying, hey, we can't find people, it's hard to get good people and so on. And I was like, well, I know a lot of veterans, and I know a lot of veterans in the skilled trades. So that's kind of how the name started out, Skilled Vets. But we service more than just the skilled trades. We have it's the gamut. Any kind of job. We're looking for bus drivers right now, data engineers, data scientists, and so on. But the true vision behind the company is to try to help the veteran understand what kind of company they're applying for, and then help the company understand what kind of veteran they're getting. And we do that through a variety of methods. And that's what we're going for, is to try to help to eliminate just all the paper resumes that go out.
Many employers include diversity as part of their mission. Do veterans fit into that?
Absolutely, 100%. So many DEI initiatives. In fact, so the VA itself has a DEI initiative program for veterans as well. So our goal is to educate. Actually, on board in our company is another Marine that's been in the HR industry for 20 plus years, and understands the HR community and what they do. And so our goal is to educate the HR offices and all these corporations, saying, hey, listen, veterans fit in the DEI role. You should definitely look at them. There's lots of great reasons to look at a veteran, but it definitely fits within the DEI role.
What are some of the skill sets and characteristics that veterans bring to an employer?
Well, the first thing is veterans are extremely loyal. So, we had several Marines on here, and you recognize Marines right away. You recognize other veterans right away. And that's a big positive for a company, which leads to great retention rates, right? What we're really focusing on is that middle management. So veterans are flexible. They're extremely good at leading. They are put into hard situations. They're able to overcome and adapt and move forward with the mission that they've been assigned to. They have a strong work ethic, obviously, the camaraderie. You bring somebody into your organization that has an understanding of camaraderie, and they can build that from the middle of the organization, as opposed to just somebody coming in at the top or at the very bottom and having to either struggle or not have to struggle to bring that camaraderie to your company. So that is an important part, and an important focus of our mission, is to feed that middle management room where they can groom the people coming into the organization. So just the skill sets are so many soft skills that can't be taught, that can't be educated, that just come with a veteran naturally.
Outstanding. What would you say is the best way to couple your college credentials and your military experience to advance in your career?
Well, the obvious and easy answer to that is that make sure you're taking the right classes and courses that match what you want to do in life. If you time is your most valuable asset, so you don't want to spend it on just trying some different things. Understand what you really want to do, and sometimes that takes sitting down with somebody that's in an industry called a mentor, and sitting down with a mentor and saying, hey, you're in the trucking business, you've been doing it for 15, 20 years. What's it like? Where will I end up in 15 or 20 years? And there's great organizations like Veterati, where you can go on and get mentorship calls and have an hour-long call with somebody that's an expert in the field. And then make sure you're taking the right classes. The other key time that you could spend while you're in college is networking. Get on LinkedIn and start networking. It's never too early. Start networking with other veterans, senior leadership positions in companies, HR, recruiters. And these are two valuable things that you can do while you're in college. But obviously for the college experience, just make sure you're not wasting your time. Make sure you're utilizing it to the best of your capabilities. If it's being paid for by the GI Bill or some other resource, take advantage of that. It's an opportunity that you've earned.
Yes. Tony, I have another question. Is it possible that I know the name is Skilled Vets, but is it possible that someone can contact you and get some help as they are transitioning? Let's say they might be on terminal leave, or they're actually still in uniform, but they're at their EAS, they're at their end of active service. Is it okay for them to contact you at that point?
Absolutely. We have on skilledvets.com/register. You can go in there and just ask for some basic information. It's not overly intrusive. Just so we can have you in the database. We are a young startup company. So we're collecting all the information. We have several companies right now that we're engaged with that have open positions. And we, even if you're not ready, you're just EAS and you're going to go into college for 4 years or 2 years, reach out to us, because we can at least talk to you and help you to educate or give you some additional information on where you might want to go, where you might want to be in 10 years. And that's the point of, skilled vets as well, is I talked a little bit about eliminating the resume. We actually want to know who you are as the veteran. What's your lifestyle like? What do you see doing in 10 years? Where do you want to be? And so the sooner we can engage you, give you the resources that you need, talk to you, mentor you, the better off it's going to be for you. As a young Marine coming out of the Marine Corps in '89, there's no resources. You just had to figure it out. And today there's so many more people that are willing to help out. Technology makes it really, really easy for you to reach out to people. Don't be afraid. Don't be bashful. Just reach out and talk to people. And that's probably the best advice I can give on that.
Awesome, Tony. Thank you. One last question before we wrap it up. You have a unique perspective where you get a chance to see what employers are looking for. Are there any courses you would recommend to a veteran as you look and say, hey, most employers are looking for people with this type of education experience? Do you have any courses you could recommend?
Maybe not a particular course by number or by name, but if you could get into a course that would help you to decouple maybe the go it alone route, where you are engaging in people, maybe like a communications course, where you actually have to talk to people, maybe a debate course, those types of things. Because believe it or not, whether you get the dream job you want or not, you still need to communicate with people. You still need to understand their side of the story. You need to portray your side of the story to them correctly. So I would say something along the lines of speaking to somebody. And if you are the worst at it, if you do not like it, you're like, I'm just going to figure this out on my own, take the course, take a class, because, so what if you fumble through it? So what if you struggle through it? There's so many people that are successful that speak that don't like to speak. But they got started by speaking and just doing it and talking to people. I personally don't like to speak in front of people, but sometimes you have to, and you have to deal with it. And start small while you're in college, while the military's paying for it, or some other resources paying for it. Make your mistakes there. Don't pretend like you're on some global stage with 100 billion people watching you. Just start small, start communicating.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much for all of that great information. After the break, how veterans can be involved in civic life.
To eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
911, where is your emergency?
Welcome back to the Veterans Voice. We all know voting is important, but sometimes registering to vote and voting itself can be complicated and confusing, especially if you are active duty in the military. To help explain it, we're joined today by Nadia Hakim, Director of Communications for the Harris County Elections Administrator's Office. Hi, Nadia.
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Many active military service personnel who call Harris County home want to vote by mail. Tell us a little about how mail ballots work, and is it different stateside than overseas?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great question, Chris. So if you are active military or living overseas, there is a separate application that you have to fill out. And that you can actually just go online, say military Texas ballot, and it pulls it right up. It is at FV as in Victor, AP.gov. So again, that's for anyone who's active and overseas. If you are back home, you're back in Harris County, and you need to vote by mail, either because you're 65 or older, you have a disability, you're going to be out of the county during early voting on election day, whatever the case may be, you can go to harrisvotes.com and fill out the mail ballot application. I do want to warn you, a lot of people think maybe I can try to submit it online. You have to fill it out and print it out and mail it to our office. The website is harrisvotes.com. There's a tab on there for voters. So click on there and there's a section just dedicated to mail ballots and all of your questions. I do want to warn folks, there were some legislative changes that went into effect last year, and it tripped up quite a few people. In fact, we had to reject almost 20% of actual mail ballots because of these little changes. So on the mail ballot application and on your mail ballot itself, it will ask you for either the last 4 digits of your social security number or your Texas driver's license number or personal ID number. A lot of folks don't remember what they registered to vote with so many years ago. So we tell folks, when in doubt, make sure you fill both of those numbers out. Because let's say you fill out your application and you give us your Texas driver's license number, but what you registered to vote with so many years ago was actually the last 4 digits of your social. We cannot count that as an exact match, and therefore we have to flag it for rejection. We've got a team that they just call you up, they let you know ahead of time, hey, we had to flag this, it's coming back in your mailbox, and this is how you correct it. So, but let's avoid all of that if we can, right? And make sure that you fill out both of those numbers. And again, on your mail ballot itself, those fields are actually under the flap to your mail ballot. Again, it will ask you for either your ID number that's on your Texas driver's license or the last 4 digits of your social. Fill both of those out. When in doubt, fill both out. All right, so you want to fill that out and then seal your envelope and then mail and sign it over the flap. That way we know it hasn't been tampered with, and then send that in. Also, as far as like deadlines, domestic ballots, they have to be postmarked by 7 p.m. on election day. So needs to be postmarked by 7 p.m. election day, needs to be received by our office by 5 p.m. the following business day. So Tuesday's election day, it needs to be received by our office by 5 p.m. on Wednesday. If at all possible, get it to us as soon as you can. Do not wait until the last possible moment. Overseas active military, our office has to receive those mail ballots within 5 days from the election. So there's a little more time for it to get to us, but as early as you can get it to us, do it.
I have one question now. I'm thinking about it as a paradox. Maybe you could solve it. I'm thinking of your home of record is Houston, but you're stationed in, let's say, Louisiana. You can only vote by mail at your home of record. Is that correct?
So you have to be in Harris County to vote. If you're registered to vote in Harris County, then you have to vote in Harris County. But let's say, you're stationed, that meets one of the requirements for mail ballots, right? So you're going to be out of Harris County during the early vote period and on election day. So you're eligible for a mail ballot. So you want to submit your application. I believe the deadline for this upcoming November's election is October 25th. So that's when we have to receive your application by, if you're going to apply for a mail ballot.
Okay, now how can they check their voter registration status, and what do they do if they find they're not active?
That's a great question, Chris. So harrisvotes.com, or you can go to the Texas Secretary of State's website. When you go to harrisvotes.com, you want to look again under that voter tab. It's right at the top. And then you want to check your voter registration status. So you can either enter in your name, your address where you think you're registered to vote, your voter unique ID number. I don't suggest people entering all of those fields because sometimes it gets really particular. Some people will put their name and their address and say, well, shoot, it's not pulling up my record. Maybe they put a road there instead. Maybe they put a street, you know, as the wrong ending, and it's not going to pull it up unless it's exactly the way it is in our system. So I usually tell folks, just put your name in there. Make sure that your name, when you pull up your voter registration status, make sure it's exactly the way it is on your ID. And check your address to make sure it's up to date. So let's say you log on to harrisvotes.com, you look up your information, and a pop-up comes up and it says your registration is in suspense. It happens. And the biggest reason that happens is every 2 years we send those little certificates out. They're about the size of a postcard. Sometimes they're yellow, sometimes they're blue. They're all different colors. It depends on the year. If the United States Postal Service bounces that back to our office, it sends up a flag to us. It says, hey, maybe these folks aren't living here anymore. And then your voter registration is put into suspense. You can still vote. You just might have to fill out an extra document when you get to the vote center if you're voting in person. It's called a statement of residence. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Nadia, for all of that great info, and thank you for joining us today. Before we go, we'd like to let you know about an upcoming event. On September the 8th in Emancipation Park, the city of Houston is hosting Houston Stand Down with information about services for veterans and a 4-on-4 half-court basketball tournament. So be sure to check it out. If you'd like more information on any of the organizations and services you've seen on the program today, visit our website at hccs.edu/VeteransVoice. An audio version of this show is available on Apple Podcasts. Just search for the HCC TV Podcast Network and then hit the subscribe button. For everyone here at HCC TV, thank you for joining us on Veterans Voice.